Alexander the Great, also known as Alexander III of Macedon, was born in 356 BC in Pella, the ancient capital of Macedonia, to King Philip II and Queen Olympias. His father, King Philip, was a powerful and ambitious ruler who united most of the city-states of mainland Greece under Macedonian hegemony. His mother, Olympias, was a princess from Epirus and was said to be fiercely protective of her son, often instilling in him a sense of destiny and greatness. From an early age, Alexander showed signs of his extraordinary abilities. He was tutored by the philosopher Aristotle, who introduced him to a wide range of subjects, including philosophy, science, medicine, and literature. Aristotle's teachings helped shape Alexander's intellectual development and instilled in him a deep admiration for Greek culture. By the age of 16, while his father was away on military campaigns, Alexander was left to govern Macedonia and proved his leadership abilities by quelling a rebellion and founding the city of Alexandropolis. In 336 BCE, when Alexander was just 20 years old, his father was assassinated and he ascended to the throne. Despite his youth, Alexander was determined to fulfill his father's vision of expanding the Macedonian Empire. He quickly consolidated his power, eliminating potential rivals and securing loyalty from the military and the nobility. Within a year, he launched his first military campaign, aiming to conquer the Persian Empire, which was the largest and most powerful empire in the world at the time. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed into Asia Minor, where he began his campaign against the Persians. His first major battle was the Battle of Granicus, where his forces defeated the Persian satraps and secured a foothold in Asia. This victory was followed by a series of successful campaigns, including the Battle of Issus in 333 BC, where Alexander decisively defeated the Persian king Darius III. Despite Darius's numerical superiority, Alexander's military genius and tactical brilliance led to a crushing defeat for the Persians. Following the victory, Alexander continued his march southward, capturing key cities such as Tyre and Gaza. In 332 BC, Alexander entered Egypt, where he was hailed as a liberator from Persian rule. The Egyptians, who had long resented Persian domination, welcomed him with open arms. While in Egypt, Alexander visited the oracle of Ammonius at Siwa, where he was proclaimed the son of the god Ammonius, further bolstering his divine status and reinforcing his belief in his destined greatness. He founded the city of Alexandria, which would later become one of the most important cultural and intellectual centers of the ancient world. By 331 BCE, Alexander turned his attention back to Persia, and in 331 BC, he faced Darius III once more at the Battle of Gaugamela. This battle was one of Alexander's most decisive victories. Darius fled the battlefield, and Alexander's forces captured the Persian capital of Persepolis. This victory marked the fall of the Persian Empire and cemented Alexander's reputation as one of history's greatest military commanders. After the conquest of Persia, Alexander continued his campaign eastward, pushing into modern-day Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. In 326 BCE, Alexander crossed the Indus River into India, where he encountered King Porus at the Battle of the Hydaspes. Despite the formidable resistance posed by Porus and his war elephants, Alexander's troops emerged victorious. However, after this battle, Alexander's army, exhausted and disillusioned by the long campaign, mutinied at the Beas River, refusing to march further into India. Faced with his soldiers' reluctance, Alexander reluctantly turned back. In the years following the return from India, Alexander sought to consolidate his empire and implement various reforms. He adopted many Persian customs and encouraged intermarriage between his Macedonian soldiers and the local populations. He also sought to spread Greek culture and ideas throughout his empire, establishing Greek-style cities, schools, and institutions in the conquered territories. His policy of fusion between Greek and Eastern cultures is known as Hellenistic, and it would have a profound influence on the development of the Mediterranean world. Alexander's health, however, began to deteriorate, In 323 BCE, after a banquet in Babylon, he fell ill with a fever. Despite the efforts of his physicians, his condition worsened, and he died at the age of 32. The cause of his death has been the subject of much speculation, with theories ranging from natural causes, such as malaria or typhoid fever, to the possibility of poisoning. Alexander's sudden death left his vast empire without a clear successor, and it soon fragmented into several competing Hellenistic kingdoms, ruled by his generals, known as the Diadochi. Despite the disintegration of his empire, Alexander's legacy endured. His conquest spread Greek culture, ideas, and technology across a vast swath of the ancient world, creating a fusion of Greek and Eastern cultures that would shape the course of history for centuries. His military tactics are still studied by commanders and military scholars, and his vision of a united, multicultural world continued to influence future generations. Alexander the Great remains one of the most iconic figures in world history, revered not only for his military genius, but also for his ambition, vision, and determination. His life and achievements continue to inspire awe and fascination, and his legacy as one of the greatest conquerors in history endures to this day. Alexander's death, although sudden, did not mark the end of his influence on the world. His vision of a vast empire united under his leadership was never fully realized in his lifetime, but it continued to shape the cultures and societies that followed. The division of his empire among his generals, the Diadochi, led to the creation of several Hellenistic kingdoms, such as the Seleucid Empire in the east, the Ptolemaic Kingdom in Egypt, and the Anagonid dynasty in Macedonia. Though these kingdoms were often in conflict, they shared a common cultural heritage rooted in the Greek influence Alexander had spread. Alexander's campaigns had a profound and lasting impact on the development of both Western and Eastern civilizations. He created a world where Greek language, art, and philosophy flourished alongside Eastern traditions, blending cultures in a unique fusion known as Hellenism. Cities like Alexandria in Egypt, Antioch in Syria, and Seleucia in Mesopotamia became thriving centers of learning, commerce, and cultural exchange, where Greek thought merged with Persian, Egyptian, and Indian influences. This blending of cultures would leave a lasting mark on the Mediterranean world, the Middle East, and Central Asia for centuries to come. The Hellenistic period that followed Alexander's death saw advancements in science, mathematics, philosophy, and art, driven by the cultural exchanges his conquests had facilitated. The spread of Greek philosophy, especially the works of thinkers such as Aristotle, Plato, and Stoic philosophers, deeply influenced the intellectual development of the ancient world. The Hellenistic kingdoms also served as a bridge for the exchange of knowledge between East and West, allowing for the transmission of ideas, technologies, and innovations that would later be instrumental in shaping Roman and Byzantine civilizations. Though Alexander's empire fragmented shortly after his death, the memory of his conquests lived on. His story became legendary, with writers, historians, vision of a world united under one rule, and his relentless pursuit of greatness continued to resonate with leaders and thinkers across the world. However, the complexity of Alexander's character and the contradictions in his life, his brilliance as a military leader juxtaposed with his brutal conquests, his vision of unity alongside his often destructive actions, have made him a subject of both admiration and critique. While his legacy is undeniable, scholars and historians continue to debate the true nature of his achievements and the consequences of his empire building. Some view him as a visionary who sought to bring different cultures together, while others see him as a ruthless conqueror whose wars left a trail of destruction. In the end, Alexander's impact on world history is immeasurable. His reign, though brief, changed the course of history by creating a world that was more interconnected and culturally diverse than ever before. His legacy lived on through the Hellenistic kingdoms, the spread of Greek culture, and the intellectual advancements of the time. Though his empire fractured after his death, the cultural and political landscape of the ancient world was forever altered by his conquests. Alexander's life serves as a reminder of the potential for greatness, the cost of ambition, and the complex nature of historical legacies. His story, filled with triumphs, struggles, and ultimate tragedy, continues to captivate the imagination of people around the world. Alexander the Great's extraordinary journey, from a young Macedonian prince to the ruler of an empire that spanned continents, has solidified his place as one of the most iconic figures in world history. His life is a testament to the power of vision, leadership, and the relentless pursuit of greatness, leaving behind a legacy that still echoes through the corridors of time. And poets from various cultures recounting his deeds, portraying him as a heroic figure and a divine conqueror. In Greek and Roman literature, Alexander was idealized as the ultimate model of a ruler, a powerful military leader, a visionary conqueror, and a man whose ambitions extended beyond the earthly realm. His military campaigns were celebrated as miraculous feats of strategy and courage, and his persona as a god-king was emphasized by subsequent rulers who sought to emulate his glory. Even in the centuries following his death, Alexander's image continued to influence rulers and leaders. His name was used as a symbol of power and divine right by many monarchs, from the Roman emperors to later rulers in Europe and Asia. Alexander's legend inspired countless military leaders, from Napoleon Bonaparte to modern generals, who studied his strategies and sought to emulate his remarkable achievements. In the centuries after his empire fractured, the remnants of Alexander's conquests still carried great significance. The city of Alexandria in Egypt, founded by Alexander himself, became one of the most important intellectual and cultural centers in the ancient world. The Library of Alexandria, one of the greatest libraries of antiquity, became a symbol of knowledge and learning. The legacy of Hellenistic culture continued through the Roman Empire, which absorbed and adapted Greek ideas, art, and architecture, influencing the development of Western civilization for centuries. Alexander's life was marked by constant ambition and an insatiable desire for conquest. His strategic brilliance, leadership, and vision set him apart from many other rulers in history. Yet, despite his extraordinary success, his personal life was often tumultuous. He faced challenges from within his own ranks, as many of his closest generals and advisors were driven by their own ambitions. His relationship with his family, particularly his father Philip and his mother Olympias, was complex, with both admiration and tension. His bond with his troops was also crucial to his success, but even his closest companions, such as Hephaestion, faced the weight of his ever-expanding goals. Alexander's character has been the subject of much debate. He was admired for his extraordinary intelligence, his ability to inspire loyalty and bravery in his men, and his relentless drive toward victory. However, his quest for power also left a trail of destruction. His military campaigns caused immense suffering, and the devastation of cities like Persepolis and the brutal treatment of conquered populations left a mixed legacy. After his death, Alexander's empire disintegrated, and his grand vision of a unified world under his rule never came to fruition. Nevertheless, his legacy continued to live on through the Greek-inspired cultures of the Hellenistic period and the empires that succeeded him. His ambition to create a world where different cultures could coexist and influence one another helped shape the future of Eurasian history. Though his life was cut short, Alexander's name continues to be synonymous with the idea of greatness in leadership, military strategy, and the spread of culture. His story continues to inspire people across the world, from the military strategist to the dreamer of an interconnected global civilization. Alexander the Great's journey was one of extraordinary achievements and unfulfilled ambitions, and his memory remains one of the most remarkable in human history. In the centuries following Alexander's death, his impact continued to reverberate through history. His influence was not only confined to the military and political realm, but also shaped the cultural and intellectual landscape of the ancient world. The Hellenistic kingdoms that emerged from his empire's division fostered a unique blend of Eastern and Western traditions, influencing the future development of both the Mediterranean and the Middle East. This period marked a time of significant intellectual and cultural exchange, which had a lasting impact on art, science, philosophy, and religion. One of the major legacies of Alexander's conquest was the spread of Greek culture across a vast expanse of territory, from Greece and Egypt to Persia and India. This phenomenon, known as Hellenization, led to the establishment of Greek-speaking communities and cities, which became centers of learning, art, and commerce. These cities, such as Alexandria in Egypt, Antioch in Syria, and Seleucia in Mesopotamia, became important hubs where Greek and local cultures fused. As a result, Greek became the lingua franca of much of the Eastern Mediterranean and Near East, making communication and the exchange of ideas more accessible than ever before. The Hellenistic period also saw significant advances in science and philosophy, which were spurred by the cultural diffusion that Alexander's conquest had initiated. Greek thinkers, such as Euclid, Archimedes, and Ptolemy, built upon earlier knowledge and made groundbreaking contributions to geometry, astronomy, physics, and mathematics. At the same time, philosophers like Zeno and Epicurus introduced new schools of thought, such as Stoicism and Epicureanism, which explored ideas about ethics, happiness, and the nature of the universe. These schools of philosophy would go on to influence Western thought for centuries, eventually impacting Roman philosophy and later Western and Christian philosophical traditions. Art and architecture also flourished during the Hellenistic period. Greek artistic styles merged with those of the conquered regions, leading to a vibrant cross-cultural exchange. The Hellenistic world saw the creation of intricate sculptures, grand architectural projects, and monumental public works that reflected both Greek ideals and local traditions. Artists such as Lysippus and Praxiteles broke with earlier classical traditions and embraced more dynamic and expressive representations of the human form. This period also witnessed the construction of grand cities and architectural wonders, such as the Lighthouse of Alexandria, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Alexander's influence on religion and myth also had enduring consequences. He was often portrayed as a semi-divine figure, and his identification with gods like Zeus and Ammonius elevated him to a near-mythical status. In Egypt, he was recognized as a god and was honored at temples, while in Persia, he adopted some of the customs of Persian kings and sought to establish himself as a legitimate heir to the ancient kings of the Achaemenid Empire. His legacy in this regard persisted long after his death, as rulers across the Hellenistic world and beyond used his image and authority to justify their own rule. The concept of divine kingship, which Alexander had embraced, became a hallmark of subsequent monarchies. The influence of Alexander the Great extended well beyond the Hellenistic period. As the Roman Empire expanded, many Roman emperors, including Julius Caesar and Augustus, looked to Alexander as a model of military and political success. They admired his ability to conquer vast territories and his ambition to create a unified empire. Alexander's campaigns were studied by Roman generals and military tacticians, who sought to emulate his strategies in their own conquests. Even in the modern era, Alexander's legacy remains influential. His name has become synonymous with ambition and military prowess, and his life has been the subject of countless biographies, historical studies, and works of fiction. His extraordinary ability to inspire loyalty, his